Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. Welcome to the Rossmoor Community Service District Regular Board of Directors meeting. May we please have a roll call?
Roll call, Director Shade. Here. Director Searles.
Here.
President Maynard.
Here.
Director DeMarco, Director Barkey are both out this evening.
Okay. So tonight for our Pledge of Allegiance, we have Boy Scout Troop 642. Gentlemen.
Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard cross the colors. Present the flag of the United States of America. All those in uniform, please salute. All others, put your right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. And post the flag of California and Rossmoor. Color guard regroup. Audience, please be seated.
Excuse me, patrol leader, are you listening to patrol leader? You are. So first, your troop is 642. Where are you based out of?
We are based in Seal Beach, California.
Great. So you represent how many different schools here within the boys?
Mostly the Los Alamitos School District.
Great school district. Okay. We would like to acknowledge all of you who were part of this to come on up and get a free Rossmoor pin. Get them while they're hot. Want to thank you for your service. How close are you to becoming Eagle? Pardon?
I just need my project and a few more merit badges.
So you know you're speaking with the Eagle Scout himself. So I appreciate, as you guys were coming in, I'm going, these are my peeps. These are my boys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Close to Eagle. Keep working it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Scout. Thank you. You bet. Thank you. You already have one. Here you go. We're running out. Go tackle that kid who already has one. Okay, here you go. There you go. We need just one more. You're going to get one. Oh, he already has one. Okay. So again, thank you. Good luck. Boy Scouts, one of the best organizations. I am fortunate not only to be an Eagle Scout, but on the card that I still have that you get with the president, mine is signed by Ronald Reagan, which makes it especially special to me. But anyhow, thank you for coming out here tonight, boys. Thank you.
President Maynard,
Yes.
I'd like to let you know that the Scouts will be staying and I guess to get some credits for some of the items they're working on, some of the projects. And I want to thank the troop master back there for bringing them out. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to our presentations tonight. First up, we've got our own California Highway Patrol Officer, Zephyring, regarding quarterly traffic report. Welcome, officer.
Thank you. Hey, good evening, board. Officer Valdominos with the California Highway Patrol with the Westminster area, currently assigned to Rossmoor area, the Midway City, and the unincorporated area of Anaheim, along with all state property in the CHP Westminster area's jurisdiction. As of the last meeting that I was able to attend back in May, I believe, the following issues have been brought to my management as well as the community we serve, some of the issues. Back in July and August, we conducted 2 DUI checkpoints in Rossmoor, with which 5 arrests were made out of a total screening of 391 vehicles. CHP would like that number to be at 0%, and with an effort to curb the problems, we're planning on continuing more DUI checkpoints along with saturation patrols during the weekends and holidays, which are coming up. The other issue that we're starting to notice, I'm sure you guys do too, is the e-bikes. They continue to be a challenge. This past Veterans Day on Monday, an e-bike failed to yield for a CHP officer, continued through the Rossmoor area, putting the juvenile rider along with his 2 juvenile passengers at risk of serious injury or worse. Ultimately, the e-bike yielded, with the e-bike impounded and the rider receiving a misdemeanor charge. I just want to remind the e-bike riders that speeds on the sidewalk of Rossmoor is a 5 miles per hour max on an e-bike or a bike. Riders under the age of 18 must wear a safety helmet. No passengers are allowed to sit on the back, front, or foot pegs of an e-bike, even if a seat is designed on the bike. If riding in the streets, you are required to obey all traffic signs, signals, right-of-ways, and speeds. An e-bike is classified as a bike with pedals with an electric motor of not greater than 750 watts. Anything greater is considered a motorcycle, which must be California registered and have a valid driver's license. Just keep that in mind. Some of the school stuff. School zones, just please remember school zone speed limits are 25 miles per hour when driving. Parking or even stopping in the red zone could warrant a citation. The yellow zones are for loading and unloading, so please no leaving your vehicle unattended, which also could warrant a citation. Going to some stats since my last meeting, from stats from June of this year to today, we've had 15 crashes, up 50% from last year's date range. So,
Are we still specific to e-bikes or
no,
all
this
traffic?
is just all traffic
Okay,
collisions.
thank you.
The 15 crashes included 5 hit and runs, 3 injury collisions, and 1 DUI collision with an arrest. So since June, we've had 6 DUI arrests in the Rossmoor area, 64 enforcement contacts. Just as a reminder, we are out there. We have our senior volunteers doing the school enforcement. I'm out there doing school enforcement, and now we're starting to have more officers starting to come in, getting trained up on doing more street enforcement here. So
Good.
we have to split up our time between Rossmoor, unincorporated Anaheim, and Midway City. With all that being said, some good news. We do look forward to assisting the Rossmoor area with some planned events and the Chips for Kids program that we're going to be doing. So, any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned, did I hear right? You said maximum speed for the e-bikes was 5 miles per hour?
If you're riding on a sidewalk, that's any bike. So if
Any
you're on a
bike. Okay,
bicycle, e-bike, it's 5 miles an hour.
5 miles per hour, good to know.
On the
And also
sidewalk.
you mentioned that there's no passengers allowed, period, is that correct?
Correct. So you see some of these e-bikes, they're designed with like a seat in the back.
Right.
Still can't have a passenger.
Okay, I've seen them constantly, so
Yeah, we
that's
see them.
good to know.
It's an educational that we're trying to
Right,
we're trying to
that's
keep
what I
up
wanna
with some of
push.
these bike designers and bike companies that are faster than we can pump out the information.
Well, they have long seats, so it's like you could
Yeah.
put easy 3 people on them, and they do.
Oh, yeah. So that was the chase that we had with one of the juveniles. That's what he had. He had 2 female passengers on the back and him riding. So and he's going 60 miles an hour on that bike. So
Wait, 6-0?
6-0. So some of these bikes
That doesn't
are just-
sound like an e-bike, that sounds
It's-
like a motorcycle.
Yeah, it's pretty much a motorcycle. So that's why he got the misdemeanor warrant charges. He got some charges for that one. So but yeah, some of these bikes that you can buy. So it's an educational thing with the parents and the riders, right? I would suggest not getting your children bikes that can go extremely fast, right? Some of these bikes are just they're nuts. I don't know what else to call them, but yeah, they're fast. I would never let my daughter ride some of these bikes. So just
Okay.
educational for parents. Again, we have some pamphlets. I think I sent an email. There's a QR code with training for parents and the riders, children. Everybody can do it. It gives you some of the breakdown of the laws, what you should and shouldn't be doing when riding some of these e-bikes.
And regarding you mentioned your senior enforcement, like where do you have them located? Like, where can we find them? Is there any specific time frames, or are they just kind of all over?
They're kind of all over, but they also do school enforcement in the morning for me. If I can't make it, they'll just be a presence out there that kind of keeps traffic flowing through the school zones.
And
but
what
yeah,
are they
all throughout the day.
authorized to do, basically?
They're authorized to put out the radar trailer, which we try and put out once a week here, and then just kind of a visual presence mostly, and educational purposes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Director Soils.
What kind of speed enforcement action have you had since June?
Speed enforcement, as far as through the Rossmoor area?
Yeah, the number of tickets, you
It's
know.
the number of tickets. I don't have that information. My computer was going haywire today, but the tickets that I've been writing are mostly people that are failing to obey the stop signs. They're just rolling right through them like they don't exist. So that's another big issue, and that's where most of my crashes are happening, is intersection crashes, people just not paying attention, uncontrolled intersections without a stop sign, so just people not yielding the right of way. We have a couple of those through the Rossmoor area, but speed. Montecito is always kind of my problem area. People like to, it's usually during work, like right before work time frames, right? 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, people, I'm late to work, or trying to get home, pick up their kids, I get it. But yeah, the speed limits are 35. Working with the county, some of the things, like I think we've had like a counter come out. There's kind of a high volume of vehicles coming through here. Some of the suggestions we've come up with is maybe putting in speed bumps. That was one of them. I don't know how.
You, as a department, have made that
As
recommendation?
mine, I've
Or
asked,
you
like,
as an
what-
officer?
Yeah, what we can
Okay.
do to kind of curb the speed on Montecito, just to get it down. So that was one of my suggestions.
And earlier you mentioned staffing. How is the staffing? I know last time you were here, you were saying it's been trending up. You've been able to hire more officers, and you had, I believe, a new class that was just starting.
Correct. So we've had a couple new transfers in. We're getting some more in January. Our numbers are looking good for the Westminster area. CHP, we're still down as a whole, but people want to come work here, so it's good. We get some people that we don't have to train up necessarily, but they're already officers from different areas that are transferring in here, so we just have to teach them the Westminster way. So
Well, it's very good. I will say I see plenty of CHP on the 405, and so I assume if you've got enough out there, then helping us is available as well. So thank you.
yes, sir.
That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Couple questions. You mentioned that some of these accidents that happen are at the no stop sign crossings or intersections?
The uncontrolled intersection. So they're
You call them uncontrolled.
right. So it doesn't have a stop sign or a signal. That's what we mean by uncontrolled. So it's
Do you,
kind of
do you track that? Do you track how many of those are and at what place? And is there ever a particular crossway, and I'm just going to call it Smith and Jones Street, there isn't a stop? Do you track it, and then somehow that is sent to some body that says, maybe there should be a stop sign there?
So they do track them. I think
Okay.
Orange County Public Works, they'll track all that. So they'll gather all that information from whoever takes the crashes in the Rossmoor area. So if I take them, sometimes they happen at night, so I wouldn't be here. They would gather all that information and they compile all that data.
In your opinion, do we have a higher propensity for these type of accidents than other communities? Because we have quite a few intersections without stop signs.
I don't think it's a higher propensity for them. I think it's just, you know, when you have residentials, it's just people not paying attention. Like I said, rush hour traffic is the hardest part for me, is people just, we have so many distractions now, right? Kids in the back, phones, radios, you know, other vehicles around us. We're not really paying attention, or your mind's just not on it. It could just happen with the stop signs even being there. So I don't know if it's just people just getting a little bit more lax, or we're getting more drivers in the Rossmoor area. So it's just, I'd have to look at the data for that one.
Yep. So there was 5 arrests during your DUI checkpoints within Rossmoor,
Correct.
out of 300 and something people you pulled over.
Screen cars during
You
the
screened
checkpoints.
300,
Right. We
and
have
that's
to-
both events
both
together?
events.
And 5 out of that 300 screened cars?
Correct.
What grade does that give us? No, I mean, percentage-wise, is that alarm, should we be alarmed? Or should we feel good? I don't feel good. How do you put that into context?
It's never good to make a DUI arrest in a residential neighborhood.
Right.
It's, for me, there's, you never know. If we started the DUI checkpoint around 9 o'clock, I believe.
9
So
p.m.
9 p.m.
Okay.
So 9 p.m. weekends, I think we did both of them on a Friday. I'm trying to pull back. I was here for both of them. It's just, yeah, you don't want to see it at all, right? If we have kids playing on the weekends and they get hit by a car, it's no good for anybody. As far as like a grade for it, I wouldn't say it's any different than any other area. But like
So
I
that
said,
percentage of
It could-
arrests to screens is like on par with what you would have expected anywhere else? Or was it less, or was it more?
well, I expect a lot from Rossmoor, so.
So do I, so do I.
right,
That's why I ask.
No, it's, I wouldn't know how to categorize that. That'd be more of my captain kind of question or management question. They have more of the data for that. Like,
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to judge like, oh, is this from different areas, right? So my unincorporated Anaheim, we haven't done a checkpoint there in about 2 to 3 years. So I'd have to gather that data
Okay.
from back then.
Within these 5 arrests that you made, was there any demographic concerns? Was it younger males? Was it old? Was there any texture you can add to that?
So it was all ages.
All ages, okay.
All ages, but it was community members. So
Members of our
we'll just-
community
we'll just-
across all ages?
I think it's just people getting a little bit lax, right? You may not
Okay.
know that you're under the influence. I've had a couple drinks and you're like, hey, I'm okay to drive, when you're really not, right?
Yeah.
So it's just people start to get a little bit lax when they drink, and they're like, I'm okay to drive. Not with today. We have Uber, Lyft,
Oh, yeah.
taxis, friends, you know,
Exactly.
everything. So that's why I say 0% should always be the goal.
Right.
With everything that we've seen from 80s to now, there's no reason for it.
Last question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned this kid who you eventually caught, he avoided you. Was he trying to evade the police or to evade?
I would
You?
say that. It
Was
wasn't
he
my-
charged for that? Because, okay, he's got a couple of kids, he's having fun, but you're trying to pull him over and then he tries to evade you. You said it's a misdemeanor. Seems like that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit the violation of itself, trying to evade police. I hope this is a good learning opportunity for this particular kid, his family, and other people.
Correct.
But it seems a little bit more than, evading police sounds more than a misdemeanor to me.
I don't know I wasn't the officer
Okay.
that made the arrest. It was a different officer. It depends on the charges that he did. Alls I know that they were misdemeanor charges. So,
Charges, so there was
There was
more than one.
multiple.
Okay, all right.
yeah, they're,
Okay,
I just don't know which one. I know one of them I know was, since the bike does go 60 miles an hour, it's a motorcycle. So if you don't have a
Yeah.
license, right,
Right.
you get a charge for that. So I know that one was one of them.
okay,
Unlicensed.
Unlicensed driver, yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Continue the work, and lesson to Rossmoor, don't drink and drive.
Thank you,
Especially, I
officer.
mean, I'm very sensitive to this too, because I'm just 8 houses in from Montecito,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen craziness, so keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I just dawned on me that I went straight to reports to the board. I'm going to take a step back, and it's public forum time. Got a little ahead of myself. So for public forum, we're going to go back to C. I apologize for going out of order on this.
I don't think you're out of order, if you look.
Oh, I'm not. Sorry. I'm out of order for thinking I was out of order. Okay, so next up we have a proclamation of appreciation to our outgoing Director Jeff Barkey. Let me pull this up. Give me a second.
President Maynard,
Yes,
you have some items in front of you, including the proclamation.
okay. Just for everyone in here, this is an elected body. We're in the ballots just like city councils, presidents, councilmen. We have a board of 5. You only see 3 of us here. But our board is up every 2 years. This past election, we had 3 seats available. In 2 years, we'll have 2 seats available, with both incumbents and members of the community wanting to serve. At the beginning of this cycle, Director Barkey, who has served for 6 years, basically retired and said he was done with serving the community. But during that time frame, people who serve need to be recognized because it is public service. It is a lot of work when you see us in these meetings. This is the tip of the iceberg and the amount of work it takes to be prepared and work on committees and do things for the benefit of Rossmoor. That's all under the ocean. These meetings are just the tip of the iceberg. So tonight we want to recognize Director Barkey, who is unfortunately not here to receive some awards and some appreciations here. But Director Barkey has been serving on this board since 2019. He was originally sworn to fill a vacant seat. And then after that vacant seat was up for election, he successfully ran a campaign and served on the board the last 4 years. So for him tonight, we have a nice little clock for him as a parting gift. We also have recognition from our California legislator from Assembly Tri-Ta has sent. We also have our Senator Janet Nguyen, who sent a certificate of recognition. And then this one is, this one's from us. So for us in Rossmoor, we're doing a proclamation of appreciation. Again, Director Barkey serving from 2019 to 2024. So whereas Jeffrey Barkey has served on the board of directors of the RCSD for 6 years, and whereas Director Barkey supported the district during COVID-19, which was a challenge for all government entities, and he was instrumental in securing fiscal relief funding in the amount of over $48,000 to help offset the impact to our deficit budget, since we couldn't rent out facilities, parks, and fields. Whereas during his tenure on the board, Director Jeffrey Barkey was instrumental in securing $180,000 per capita grant portions, of which we are utilized for parking lot resurfacing, audio-visual upgrades, HVAC replacement, and park maintenance. And whereas Director Jeffrey Barkey supported the district in resolving quality of life issues with regard to shoring up the street sweeping schedule for the community. Director Barkey also devoted many hours to serving on various committees, such as the CIP Committee, Tree Committee, Audit Committee, Traffic Committee, Investment Committee, and various ad hoc committees. And whereas Director Barkey provided outstanding leadership as director during 2019 through 2024, he also served as this board's president in 2021. So therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Rossmoor Community Service District extends our sincere gratitude to Jeffrey Barkey for his service and wish him the best in the future. This is presented on the 12th day of November, 2024. In front of you all, I'm signing this right now. Mr. Mendoza, do you have anything to add?
I believe Director Barkey sent in a letter that Caroline will be reading with some of his thoughts, but on behalf of our CSD and staff, we just thank him for his service, and it was great working with him, and look forward to see him in the future.
Okay. Before reading that, Director Shea, do you have anything?
I would like to thank Jeffrey Barkey for his 6 years of service and commitment to the community. He's been instrumental in many things, including this grant, which is fabulous, and we thank him dearly and hope to see him soon around the place.
Okay. Director Searles.
I thank Director Barkey for his service.
Okay. Now,
As written by Director Barkey, it has been an honor to serve the community of Rossmoor. As my tenure ends, it saddens me that a group of far-left advocates have politicized our CSD. Despite this community being a conservative majority of quiet, family-oriented residents, the political left has now taken over the RCSD. I only hope this community wakes up to reestablish conservative control to continue the fantastic work this and previous RCSD members have accomplished. I am proud that we brought pickleball to Rossmoor Park despite the few loudmouth leftists that had wanted to put the selfish interests of a few over the needs of the community. The community is now enjoying this rapidly growing sport. I am proud of our physical oversight of our budget, especially during the tyranny of COVID. I am proud of the work done by General Manager Mendoza, helping to create new community events, including the Farmers Market at Rush Park and the various festivals enjoyed throughout the year. I am proud that our parks and trees are flourishing. I am proud that we exerted greater oversight and control over our contracts with the county, that we established alternate day street sweeping and continue to work on traffic mitigation. The blurring of the elected governance structure of the RCSD versus the voluntary club membership of the RHA continues to be a problem and interferes with the effectiveness of county contracts and relationships. I hope the new board will not allow these lines to be crossed. Rossmoor is a quiet gem of a community in Orange County. This will not last if the politicization of the Rossmoor governance continues. Just as our country overwhelming electedly former President Trump to another term and took control of both the House and the Senate, I hope and pray Rossmoor will reassert its conservative core to take back the RCSD from the woke left. May God's grace continue to bless Rossmoor, and I wish the new members and returning members of RCSD Godspeed. Sincerely, Jeffrey Barkey, MD.
thank you. So that now takes us to public forum. Any person may address the Board of Directors at this time upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the Rossmoor Community Service District. However, any matter that requires action may be referred to the staff at the discretion of the board for a report and action at a subsequent board meeting. We have one card in. That doesn't mean people still can't come up and talk if they would like to participate in such things. So first up is Kanya, and I'm always bad with this last name, but Kanya Vivante, there we go. Italian, sounds good. And the subject is street sweeping.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you, Board. Good evening. My name is Konya Vivanti, and I'd like to make the following comment concerning the street sweeping amendment that was not approved at the October board meeting. My experience in preparing staff reports with the contract amendment is that the original contract is not included in the agenda packet. Instead, staff prepares a staff report with a copy of the letter from the service provider and includes the amendment page to be added to the existing contract. The entire contract is never included in an amendment staff report. In my opinion, it was unprofessional to see a board chastise a general manager in a public forum about the exclusion of the entire contract in the agenda packet. The entire contract could have been requested prior to the board meeting when the agenda packet was distributed to members several days before the calendared meeting. Furthermore, requiring the name change on the contract of the company who acquired the existing contract is not required for approval and would better be completed at the next contract negotiation if the board chooses to do so. My hope was this delay was not done unintentionally and not an opportunity to be self-serving prior to an election. It is important to note that there are only 2 major street sweeping companies in Southern California, SCA and Nationwide. There are also a limited amount of refuse haulers, such as CR&R and Athens Services, who also have their own sweepers. The reality for all local governments is that there are very few choices available for this required service in order to meet state water quality requirements. Therefore, in light that the contract expires next month, I would encourage the board to approve tonight's contract amendment with SCA. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you. We are now moving on to reports to the board. Up first, we have D1, a report on the urban forest. District Arborist Mary Kingman. Mr. Mendoza. Oh, I say Mary and boom, there she is.
Mary's ready.
She is ready
to go.
right there.
Good evening.
Hello, Mary.
So I'm here to give the report for the months of August through October 2024. And I'll also give some information on the Santa Ana Wind event that we had last week, November 6th, because that fell out of the realm of the report. But for the months of August through October, we had 1,320 trees pruned by our district contractors. Most of those were on the grid pruning that was scheduled, and that was through our contractor, West Coast Arborists. 48 trees were removed from Rossmoor parks and parkways. One unauthorized trimming or removal citation was issued. 15 limb failures occurred. 1 property damage claim was filed. And there were 174 resident service requests that were responded to. On November 6th, we had high winds with winds reaching 24 miles per hour, according to the local weather report. During that day, there were 8 limb failures, 2 tree failures, and 1 small tree uprooted, and I had to go out and remove it. I also wanted to give you an update on the vacant planting sites that we're working on for the residents that did not want a tree or do not want a tree. We've sent out letters to those residents. There were originally 40, but one site I realized we could not plant right now because they had planted shrubs throughout the parkway. So that went on a different list, and I do have another list where the parkway is just unable to be planted due to shrubs or hardscape or artificial turf. So that's going to be another list to deal with after this list is planted. So of the 39, I've had some response, and we are giving them to a certain date before we send out a letter saying this is the tree we're planting. I'm hoping that they're able to choose the tree because I can probably help them out finding a tree that will work for them and that won't have attributes that are undesirable to them. So that's what we're working on, and I'll continue to keep you updated. Once we send out those letters, I have to then send the list to our contractor, and I don't have a date on when they might be able to come in and do the planting. So again, I'll keep you updated on that progress. And that's the end of my report, if you have any questions.
Director Shea.
Yeah, hi, Mary.
Hi.
You know, the issue with the high winds that we had this, past week or so, if there's a large branch that falls off of a tree and it falls into, the street and it's pulled off and it's, into the yard basically, so it's not in the way of the street. Do we call you for that to get that picked up and removed?
Yes, that you would call either myself or if I'm not here at night. Unfortunately, wasn't here that day. I was out sick.
Okay.
But you would call the front desk and staff would go out and assess the situation, caution tape it. Either if we can, our staff will pick it up and cut it up. If it's too big, we have to call it into county, and then it's an emergency service request with them. So yeah, we definitely don't want people to be doing that themselves, trying to break up these big
It was one of those
limbs.
ones that's just like,
Did
do
that
we
happen to you?
call do we not call?
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, not to us,
Oh,
not to
okay.
me personally, but to my neighbor.
Yeah.
And it was just like the size that was like questionable. Well, do I just hack that up and throw it in the trash myself, or do I call a service?
Yeah, I would say if it was questionable, then call. Unless you
was-
can kind
it
of
was-
snap it with your foot in a couple pieces and put it in
Yeah.
your trash, then
I thought it was big enough for
probably
them to call
probably
as
too
well.
big. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Mary, correct me if I'm wrong. If a large limb falls in the street and it's blocking the street, you want to call both first sheriffs, right, Mary, and then us to make sure. Sheriffs will in turn call Public Works, and so will we, but you need to make sure that that tree is reported that's blocking, people driving through the street.
Yeah, that would only be, the sheriff should only be called if there was a real emergency, like cars could not get through a street.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it's off kind of to the side and cars can still get through, the sheriff does not need to be called, unless there was, of course, an injury or, then you would call 911. So,
All right.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Director Searles.
Yeah, how, I guess, with the late summer weather, how do you describe that in comparison to past years, and what do you expect for the health of the trees?
Well, it's staying warmer longer, definitely. So the fall, it's not happening as quick as it used to, the weather cooling off. And heat does affect trees, and it affects limbs falling. So there's a phenomenon called summer branch drop, where seemingly healthy limbs just drop. And they think it has something to do with the water that's lost through vapor during the day through the leaves. Then in the evening, when it cools down a little, the water then rushes back up through the tree, and it causes a weight issue, because it usually happens in the early evening. So things like that can happen during the heat. And then, of course, we start having the winds at this time of year, and a lot of the trees are still full of leaves because they haven't dropped their leaves. They kind of don't know to, because the seasons aren't changing. So when the trees are full of leaves and the wind comes, then we get more branch failures, because the wind can't kind of go through. The branches are heavier with all the growth. So that does affect the amount of limb failures also. We had probably the most limb failures last year because of that tropical storm that came through in August, when a lot of the trees that are used to being bare when we get that kind of weather were full. They were full of foliage and full of leaves. So they just couldn't withstand that wind.
Have we had any trees dedicated during this past quarter?
That what?
The dedication program, has anyone taken advantage of that?
I have not had much response to that. No, not yet. Usually during this time of year, I do get calls with people wanting to plant memorial trees. So I do expect some, but not a lot this year. I haven't, no.
Perfect. I would always thank you for the mulch yard. I find it greatly helpful, and then I hope everyone takes advantage of that. It's great.
Yeah.
And then also, again, congratulations on your capstone nomination. That was great.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Question I have for you
Yeah.
is the sites without a tree. How is that outreach going? Is it meeting your expectation? Are you happy that people are a little bit more receptive to having trees? Because some people just instantly, I don't know what they're scared of. It's a tree. Mary, you don't seem very scary to me if you knocked on my door or something. So
Yeah.
is it doing better than you thought? Are people receptive when you actually talk to them?
It's actually about what I thought it would be, because a lot
Okay.
of these, I have for many years attempted
Yeah.
to plant a tree, and I've had the same reaction
Resistance,
or
yeah.
response.
Yeah.
So I did expect the same response, and I did get the same response.
Okay.
But there were a few people that were okay with it. Others aren't,
Right.
so it's just a matter of,
Well, we have to try.
of trying.
Yeah, so,
to do
thanks,
it.
thanks for trying. Thanks for going into a tree-resistant community in these pockets and trying to talk some sense into it.
Yeah, hopefully
I think you'll be good. I
they'll
think
realize that it will,
You get to pick your tree.
Yeah, and it will benefit them, it'll benefit the community, their
Right.
property value will go up because trees do increase your property value, so
Thank you very much, Mayor.
you're welcome.
President Maynard,
Yes,
if I may, Carolyn has made arrangements to show the video of the capstone award that Mary was put up for.
that'd be
And,
great.
And I'd like to, for the Boy Scouts, this is an educational time that, to let you know that Mary is our arborist, and she takes care of our 6,000 trees in the community, making sure people are safe, making sure there's not a lot of limb failure, and that's an art. I mean, that's her skill level and what she's been trained to do educationally. So we appreciate Mary, and she was put up for an award recently for the, I guess, amount of tree failures we've had, because as you know, some of these limbs are pretty heavy. They can fall on a car, they can fall on a person, somebody can get very, very badly hurt. We've had very minor situations, and our liability insurance company put Mary up for an award, and she was one of the finalists for all throughout Southern California. So I just want to congratulate her. This is the video
There's the award.
and Mary has her award with her. All right.
The Rossmoor Community Service District services 3,500 homes, 11,500 residents, 2 major parks, 3 smaller parks, and 1 small community center. Mary has been an integral part of our success. She is the one that this newspaper article, and we're just proud that she is on it. She cares, and so that heart is something you can't replace. We have signs throughout our community that we brag about, Free City USA, because we feel good about it, and we feel that that's one of our major points of service to the community. Keeping up the urban forest, educating people, making sure they're safe.
In my role as district arborist, living with a lot of trees carries a certain degree of risk. So besides taking the trainings that the authority offers, I also correspond with the claims examiners, the staff that works with me also attends all the authority training that I take.
Mary adds significant value through the outstanding service she provides to the community, her continuing effort to enhance safety, her innovative risk management solutions, and just her dedication to the community.
Very nice. That was great.
I just want to say it was a real honor to be nominated, but it's also for all the staff from the office to the field that helps with the trees too. So I want to thank them also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. So that brings us to item D2. This is a report on Orange County vector control responses. If you recall last meeting, we were supposed to have a certain individual from Vector. He couldn't make it, so he sent an educational person who gave us the same presentation they gave us 4 months before. But with that, we had some inquiries and asked Mr. Mendoza to follow up. And Mr. Mendoza, you've got the follow-up.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. Just as we witnessed Mary's passion for trees and safety, our community is also concerned with standing water and our flood control channels. So if our Boy Scouts here attend school here, they know we have a number of flood control channels going through the Rossmoor community. And the residents that live adjacent to those are very concerned about standing water and the possibility of mosquito that can really affect your life if you get bitten by a mosquito that has some type of disease with it, so on it. So I'm just going to go through some of the questions and answers that you asked for that, and I'll be brief, but one of them is, how often are Rossmoor flood control channels serviced? The answer was Rossmoor flood control channels are serviced on a 12 to 14 day cycle, roughly 2 to 3 times per month. Residents have expressed concern over the algae in the flood control channels. Is this being addressed? The chemicals that we use don't change color, appearance, or smell of the water. This is in response to the questions about algae and resident concerns. The pictures that were shared regarding Rossmoor flood channels are in fine condition regarding mosquito and vector control. They are serviced regularly, and our services do not change the appearance of algae in the water, nor are they hindered by the algae in the water. Do we have President DeMarco pictures?
Yes, they are attached to this.
Would we be able to? No. Okay. So I think Vice President DeMarco provided us with some photos of the flood control channels that are attached to your report. What are the names of the adulticides and larvicides being used to treat for mosquitoes? The district and our inspectors use a variety of adulticide and larvicides when treating for mosquitoes. There is not one specific one used at a point in time, but we keep a listing of the products used as well as their labels on our website. And they did give us a link to go in and look at those types of chemicals, and we will put this on our website, all these questions and answers. How often are Rossmoor flood control channels being treated, and where can we find this information? We treat specific areas of Orange County regularly, such as Rossmoor flood control channels, but whenever we have a large area or indoor residential treatment, we post prior to treatment and also archive all these treatments on our website. Year-to-date, January 2024 to present, there has not been a large area residential treatment in Rossmoor. How can a resident set up a service request, and how long will it take for vector control to respond? This is super important. Our customer service line can help set up a service request for an OCMVCD inspector to inspect individual residences. Our customer service line can also provide advice on our mosquito control services, as well as ways to prevent occurrence of vectors such as mosquito and rats in the home. And it's pretty common that you drive down the street and you see standing water in gutters and things like that because of runoff. And we occasionally, staff will get off and knock on a door when we see that. We just recently, there's been a couple on Montecito, one on Foster, and then just recently we had a gentleman that was draining the pool on Hedwig, and it was flooding all along Baskerville, I think the name of the street is, adjacent to on Rossmoor Park. So people thought that was runoff from our park, but basically he was coming down the street from a pool that was being drained. When a service request is created, which can be done by calling our customer service line or by filling out a service request on our website, it takes 1 to 7 business days for the inspector to schedule an appointment with the resident. Inspectors only schedule appointments Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. And I need to say, I see that quite frequently. I see the inspectors out there talking to our residents and reacting to their requests. Are there any mosquito traps set up in Rossmoor? If so, how many? The district sets on average 197 mosquito traps throughout the county each week. The closest routine mosquito trap that we have in Rossmoor is at the Los Alamitos racetrack. Other traps may be set within Rossmoor based on need. However, we have not seen a scientific need to do such additional trapping in the area. To date, the western portion of the county has not seen the level of positive West Nile virus mosquito samples and/or vector home diseases that we have seen in other areas. Last question. Can you describe the sterile insect technique and tell us when it might be available? The sterile insect technique, SIT, sterile insect technique, is still in the pilot stages. The pilot is being done in Mission Viejo. We do not clearly know when the pilot stage will end, and it is determined upon when our team feels that they have acquired enough data to put an end to the pilot phase. So that concludes my report. I must say that it's just like Mary, it's an art to know what to do and when to do it, and especially in a situation where you can have a breakout of West Nile virus that could really affect our community. And we've been, in my opinion, they've been very proactive in treating our flood controls.
Director Shade, any questions?
Just looking at these photos that we were blessed enough to get from Director DeMarco, they look really bad. Like they're really, with the algae buildup, and I'm glad to see that they're treating the control panels with the flood control with the chemicals, but it's just like, can we get them flushed? I mean, just get them cleaned out? I mean, why is there standing water in there? It's got to be filled with all kinds of horrible things in it, and it's just like,
Yeah, agree, but this is specific to, we had responses and questions for vector control.
Right.
Not for flood control, not for that. So within the questions we asked.
Realm,
Yeah,
understanding. No, so it's just mainly chemicals that they're treating it with. I understand that to kill whatever, and that's it.
Okay. Director Sills.
Nothing, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Moving on, we have our consent calendar, E1 through 5. These consent items are expected to be routine, non-controversial, to be acted upon by the Board of Directors at one time, all of them together. If any board member requests that an item be removed from the consent calendar, it shall be removed, so we can act on these separately. Is there any of these items that you wish to remove, Director Shade? No?
No.
Okay. That was a no, in case people didn't hear. Director Searles.
I would just ask if the general manager had any comments about 4. If he doesn't, then I'll move forward.
The long-term nonprofit use permit?
Yeah, if you had any further comments on that.
There's one in there that might be a little redundant. We already have an agreement with the youth center, but we thought we'd put it in there because they are a long-term user and just wanted to, be as transparent as possible. But no, other than that, no, I don't.
All right.
Is there a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Which brings us to our regular calendar. And we have a gentleman in the house. G1, report from the audit committee regarding our fiscal 2023 to 2024 audit. And with us, we do have an expert witness, if you will, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. As you know, we annually conduct an audit to make sure that we are in line with handling our funds in a proper way. And I want to thank our accountant, and I think he's in the other room. You can buzz him in, and Mike Matsumoto, who put a lot of the information together for our auditor from Rogers, Anderson, Melody, and Scott. Brad Welleber, who's here tonight to present you with the audit. I'm asking that this be a final reading and approval of the 23-24 annual audit. The following information that you're going to hear and discuss, the district earned a clean and unmodified report, and no material significant weaknesses was identified. both our directors Shade and directors Maynard have heard this audit presentation. I believe they approved it, and tonight I'd like to ask Brad and Michael Matsumoto, who'll be coming in to give this report.
Good evening, members of the board.
Good day, Brad.
My name is Brad Welleber, and I'm the engagement auditor for the audit of the district that we performed for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2024. And as General Manager Mendoza mentioned, this is a follow-up to our audit committee meeting where we met, including district staff, and discussed the results of the audit. Some of the key.
Can you put this a little closer?
Thank you, Joe. Some of the key points in that, as he mentioned, were the opinion letter that we provided. This is our opinion over the financial statements. So it's an independent auditor's report. It is called an unmodified report. It's the highest level of assurance that we as independent auditors can offer to the district. And this means that there are no material misrepresentations or diversions from generally accepted accounting principles, and this is the kind of opinion that you would want in there. He also mentioned there was no internal control findings, and that's part of our audit as we do our work steps to get through that, and we didn't have any recommendations, and things are in order, and management was very responsive to providing us all the detailed invoices, statements, reconciliations, and so forth necessary in order for us to complete our audit. We also provided in a separate letter from the financial statements under Statement of Auditing Standards 114, which are written communication to you as those charged with governance. And in there, it identifies if there's any particular high-risk areas and estimates in the financial statements. It also mentions that we didn't have any difficulties working with management, and there were no uncorrected misstatements and a variety of other informations, but all in a good standing. So we don't have anything to report that the district needs to take, corrective action on.
Okay. Director Searles, do you have any questions of our auditor?
Yeah, so I guess I'd start first with, it's been a couple years, I think, with our accounting software. Has that been easy to work with now?
It's definitely easier than the other one, which was not being as supported as it was an older system, and it had some nuances that I personally had some interaction with your previous accountant, where it did some unusual things. So imagine, when your computer or your phone does something that you're not expecting, that's what the accounting system was doing. So I know it was a big undertaking for the district when you made that change, but it definitely is working a lot better than the old system.
And as far as review of our investments that the district has, a significant amount of reserves, how do you view our investment profile, risk,
Sure.
Mitigation?
Sure. So, yes, definitely that's something that we look at. We look at the investment policy that you have put in place here, and we test the investments against that policy to make sure that the district is investing in the type of investments that are permitted and for the maximum terms that are permitted. You're in a very low risk type of investment, mostly in cash and LAIF, which is a local agency investment fund. It's a pooled resource that the state of California, the state controller runs, and that source of money is available to you on a short notice, less than 24 hours notice. So it's essentially like a money market account for government agencies, and those are permitted with your investment policy. And another thing that we discussed in the audit committee meeting was the reserves that you have, and what a reserve amount should be is different for every agency, but you are sitting on around a year's worth of operating expenses, which is generally seen as a very good position to be in.
When you talk about the investments, how do you compare the choices made in the risk side of your audit with maybe other entities that you're performing audits for?
Sure. That's a good question. So for the investments, it's about liquidity and then rate of return that you can get. So with LAIF, you have maximum liquidity, which can be very good, especially when you go for So Rossmoor is largely supported by property taxes. And property taxes are collected by the county and then remitted to you on a schedule, and they come in electronically. So these property taxes, the bulk of them come in between December and April. So outside of that calendaring time when you receive property tax, between May and November-ish or so, you're getting very little property tax revenue. So the district is needing to maintain reserves to float that time where the cash is not coming in. So it's, you know, you have that amount that you're gonna get in property tax, but it comes kind of 6 months at a time, and then you have a dry spell where the only revenue that you'd be getting during that 6-month like lull in the tax collection is primarily going to be rental of your facilities and investment income and so forth. So maintaining some liquidity, as if that was your question, is a good thing, because you need to be able to manage the cash flow. There's ongoing operating expenses, payroll expenses, and so forth that happen. And so you don't necessarily want to lock your money up in long-term investments. California law permits you to go up to 5 years in investments, and in some other agencies that have maybe more cash, they may lock up some of their investments in a longer term in order to secure better rates.
Do you do any review outside of financials, like document retention, policies, just making sure things are lined up
We do,
say they would
yeah,
be?
we do look at your policies, and part of our process is to see if any amendments were done during the year of any policies. We also read through the minutes of your board for the entire year to see what kinds of actions you took, what kind of contracts you authorized, and then we test to see that the district is maintaining compliance with whatever directive you've given or official policies. These could involve investments. They could involve, for example, I saw, I think on one of the items on your agenda is the buyback program for sick and vacation. So that's like a personnel kind of a policy, and we'll check on that to see that there's compliance for reporting in the financial statements.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brad.
You're welcome.
Director Shade.
Oh, thank you, Brad. Thank you for all the information that you provided at our committee meeting, and as well as tonight on our final here, making the information well known to everybody. I don't have any further questions. We went over it pretty well in the committee meeting, so we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. I also know that you travel all the way from San Bernardino County, so be safe driving home.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I ask Brad one question? And
No.
Michael's, our accountant here, Michael's here, if anybody had any questions of him, but because we have the Boy Scouts in the audience, Brad or Michael, can you guys explain a little bit to the Scouts here the difference between a district, a city, and sales tax versus property tax?
It's now Professor
I'm going to
Brad.
give
It's
Mike
Professor Brad.
I'll give Mike an opportunity to say something about it. You want to too? Okay. Well, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
I'll turn around
Talk
and
to
face
Scouts.
it. So the Rossmoor Community Services District is a special district. That's the official term in California, is a special district, as opposed to, say, an incorporated city. Incorporated cities run under a charter or under a different municipal law. So because Rossmoor is not an incorporated city, it's following a slightly different set of governance. For example, you don't see your own fire department or police department, things you might find in a normal city. So they've been charged with a specific scope of influence or work that they can do, and they have to operate within that. So all government agencies are required to be audited every year, and that's where my role is coming in, as we are independent, so we have no affiliation with the district, but they hire us to come in and look at their books and their records, the policies, compliance with laws and regulation, and make sure that the information is being reported properly and consistently with. We have a long set of standards that we follow to make sure that you could take the financial statements that the district issues and compare them with the neighbors next door, like Seal Beach, Los Alamitos, and they would be comparable in the way that we approach that. Did I answer what you were asking?
Very good, Professor.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay. So,
There's a lot of opportunity for scouts. I know this is a little ways off in your career, but there's a lot of opportunity for accountants in the future. It's a very fast-growing area, and we need a lot more. So if you're interested in numbers and looking at financial systems and computers, so we use computers a lot, there's a huge opportunity for a career in accounting.
you had to throw that in.
I had to throw that in there. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
So do we have a motion to approve and receive the audit?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion.
Good. Would you like to second that?
Yeah, second.
Okay, although, this is a roll call, or is this a, just a aye?
Roll call, right? Trevor? Roll call. yeah.
It's a roll call. Roll call, please.
Roll call, Director Shade,
Here.
Director Searles,
Aye.
President Maynard.
Aye. Again, thank you, Brad. Safe travels.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah.
Thank you, Brad.
On G2, this is a review and approval of Rossmoor Community Service District Programs and Services Satisfaction Survey 2024. Mr. Mendoza.
President Maynard, members of the board, it's important to take a pulse of the community and find out how our services are impacting their everyday life. And Carolyn has put together a rough draft survey that we kind of plagiarized from a few years ago, and she'll walk you through that and tell you what our intent is. But the real intent tonight is to get feedback from you on questions and any additional questions that you might want to see placed on the survey. So, Carolyn?
Yes, hello, directors. Before you is just a draft of, we're just getting started putting this together. And we're going to be using SurveyMonkey again this time around. The last time we conducted a survey was in 2022. Unfortunately, we only received 279 responses versus the last survey, which we received 425. And we think that might be attributed to the number of questions we sent out last time around. It was 10 versus 23, so we're going to pare it back down to 10 to get better responses this time around. In front of you are only 9 questions. I've left room for you all to
Now, you said this is,
add input.
this is SurveyMonkey?
This is SurveyMonkey.
Is this something we email out? Is this something on our social
We're gonna-
Facebook pages that click here to, how does this
All
actually?
of the above. We're going
All
to
the
be
above?
sending out
Okay.
postcards with QR codes. You'll have QR codes on banners. We'll have everything on the website, links in social media.
How long are we going to?
Approximately a month. We'd like to start December 1st and end it December 31st.
Is this something you can also have at our little,
Festival?
our festival for people to?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Good.
Yes, that's my goal, to have it out there by then.
Okay. Director Sade, do you have any comments, any direction?
No, I
any-
think shortening it down will definitely help to get a bigger response on those for sure. And I know you do an amazing job of getting it out there on social media and the posters and the banners and all that with the QR code, so that's good. Perfect.
Yeah, I felt like there were a lot of redundancies in the last
Yeah.
survey too, so trying to
It's too long, people
make it
don't wanna
more
chime in.
user-friendly.
Director Searles?
Yeah, I would only ask, I'm not sure where it fits, would be the youth sports under 2. For more like the Friday Night Lights and our soccer clinics and those other activities, mostly that take place here that are a little more free-form.
I can put as many in that list as you'd like to see.
But
And
I just think that might be one to add, but otherwise I think it's a great list and I like
Something
paring it
that-
down.
Maybe something that says organized sports.
Yeah.
Along those lines?
And yeah, I understand that softball is
Right.
its own different answer, but nonetheless,
FNL,
FNL not being on
LAGSL.
there is definitely a thing. The cheerleading.
Yes.
Soccer.
I mean, we have flag football now going on, so yeah.
Easy to do.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I'd be very overt with it. You know, recreational softball versus LAGSL. I would actually put the real names, since they're, the information we get back to them when we talk to them is kind of like, we don't have that, we don't have that. If we're doing this, let's get some real knowledge here.
Okay.
Anything else, Director Schultz?
No, thank you, Carolyn. This is great.
Okay.
Thank you. This brings us to G3, a review and approval, or a review and approve extension and rate increase request from our Street Sweeping Corp of America. Mr. Mendoza.
President Maynard, members of the board, I'm just going to briefly summarize last month's conversation. The Sweeping Corp of America is requesting a 3.5% CPI renewal increase from January 1st, 25 to December 31st, 25. The background, currently in effect is a contract between RCSD and Sunset Properties dated December 14th, 2021, with a term of 3 years and 3 one-year extensions. In February 22nd, Sunset Properties merged with Sweeping Corporation of America, SCA. The first one-year extension was granted for calendar year 2024. SCA has requested a second one-year extension for calendar year 2025 with a CPI renewal of increase of 3.5. I need to, I guess, take a second to kind of let you know that you did approve a CPI of 3.7 last year for SCA as an increase as a CPI. However, our records, as we went and looked back, because Karen and I were thinking with Mike that, wow, this just doesn't match up, because our end of the year report showed a different number. Well, they never billed us for that increase, so we never paid it, and they aren't asking for reimbursement. They were going through a big transition within going from the two companies, and they inadvertently did not bill us for that increase.
Is there any threat of them backbilling us?
No, I've talked to them, no.
So there is no threat?
Right.
They will not?
No.
Okay.
Okay. So with you tonight is you can see the attached letter from SCA dated September 15, 2024, outlining a 3.5% COLA increase. The attachments that you have are a 3.5% increase letter from them, which will annually be a $81,203.70 annual increase. The monthly 2025 charge will be $6,766.97 monthly. So the attachments are the letter from SCA requesting the 3.5, amendment number 2 for the agreement between the County of Orange and the Rossmoor Community Services District that covers our fees for this service. And February 16th letter from Sunset Property announcing their partnership with Street Sweeping Corp of America, and the December 14th contract with Sunset Properties services subsequent assumed by Street Sweeping Corp of America. So they assumed that contract. So the big item on these attachments I want to point out is number 3. And that's the, number 2. That's the agreement and the extension of Orange County letting us know that they will cover our cost, and they will provide cost of living increases up to 10% annually.
What page is that in our agenda?
Page 151, I believe.
Thank you.
Right? Yes. So there's a bunch of whereases, and if you read through them, you can see.
Is this under attachment 4?
Attachment 2.
It's attachment.
Attachment 2.
Attachment 2, page 151 of 191.
Thank you. Okay.
So we had been waiting for this for quite a while, and it was going through the county cycle and getting approved by their council and the board. And as you can see, it was approved first in 12/14/23. Then it took a few months for James Treadway to approve it on 2/15/24.
Okay.
And I've subsequently received it and approved it. Okay. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But what we're asking tonight is to extend SCA's contract for one more year with a 3.5% increase.
Okay. Director Schultz.
Yeah, I mean, first I want to say thank you for including the full prior agreement. I think it's necessary because the full agreement has performance standards included, and had we had those last month with Jose here, we could say to him, do you have the crew that's promised in the original agreement? Do you have those 10 people? There's a bunch of services that are in the standards that they provided us in 2021 in their proposal that are beyond, I think, anything we've been discussing, but they're in that agreement. So we should be talking about, is this something, that should be part of it? Graffiti removal, awning cleaning, hauling, window washing. I don't know how those apply, but they are part of our agreement originally. And I'm pretty sure none of us would have guessed that was in any agreement we had previously. So I'm glad to have it. I wish we'd have had it last month with Jose here so we could discuss more about the crews that he has, because that's the substantive. How many people are working? What's his technology? How effective it is? Because that's where we're getting the complaints, right? The sweeper is too fast, and it's not actually cleaning the street. It's throwing it around, but it's not picking it up. I personally kind of disagree with some of that opinion because I've gone down the street on one side. You can clearly see that it's been swept, and you look on the other side and you know it hasn't been swept because the debris is just different. But, I also have to go out and rake the gutter of my street because it's got water. And so if that water is there and all the leaves are there, there's not a street sweeper that's going to pick up those leaves that are stuck in the gutter because they're wet. It's like vacuuming, a wet mess on carpet.
Yeah.
It's not happening. So I think the service is fine. I'm glad to see this. I wish we'd have had it. I'm going to assume Mr. Mendoza has, seen what alternatives were out there. And, as the resident pointed out, there aren't a lot of options. We know when we went to bid this that CR&R was nowhere near in pricing as what we were getting from Sunset. So with that, I don't have any objection.
Okay. Director Shade.
Yeah, I do know, we've discussed this multiple times on how it's dwindled down to, X amount of companies in the competition and whatnot on doing this. And our community has stepped up its complaints on what's going on out there. So it is really good to see exactly what is involved in the contract because I did not realize all of this stuff was included. So it's appreciated that it is shared. And we can actually see the details of it because now we know what exactly needs to be covered or what is covered. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mr. Mendoza.
Yeah, the comment I'll make is from time to time I decide to come home for lunch. My office is like 6-7 miles from here. And it's amazing because I'll leave and it will already be done. And the one thing people forget about Rossmoor is these beautiful, wonderful trees of ours. They shed. They drop leaves. And I remember seeing how pretty it was when I left at 8:30 because I'm at the beginning of the route. And then I come home at 12 and it was already a mess. So what part of it is also just the nature of Rossmoor is we drop a lot of leaves, especially this time of year. But with all that said, is there a motion to approve this rate increase and allow our general manager to enter into a year-long contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Although, is this a roll call as well?
I don't know.
Yes.
It is, wow. Roll call.
Aye.
No, roll call, wait.
Roll call vote. Director Shade.
Aye.
Director Searles.
Aye.
President Maynard.
Aye. Okay, brings us to the last big item, G4. This is our second reading for proposed policy number 2215. This is regarding workplace violence prevention program. Last meeting, we got to review the policy that was drafted by our council based on his expertise of having to do this with multiple entities in the public sector. Public sector. So this is now our opportunity to review it one last time and to vote on its adoption. Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, President Maynard, members of the board. This is a mandated California State Bill 553 that was signed into law on September 30th, 2023. The SB 553 amended Labor Code Section 6401.7 to require employers to develop and implement a workplace violence prevention plan in accordance with the newly codified Labor Code 6401.9, which sets out the requirements for the plan. It's very intensive. There's a lot of items that we need to put in place. We've started it already. We've sent staff to training. CGAPIA is on board with us, and we have future trainings coming up as well. And we, as a group or as an employer, will be meeting with staff, discussing plans, writing, I guess, procedures on how to deal in certain situations with workplace violence. And it's an important issue. It's mandated throughout California, and we will be meeting all those mandates and making sure that we're keeping logs, that employees know how to report and know when to report and who to report to. And we just want to let you know that we're up to date on this one, and we are trying to make sure that we are following the law. So with that, I'm asking you to please approve the second reading, and I want to thank Tarquin for helping us put this together. We had a template from CGAPIA that Tarquin worked off of, that we worked off of, and I think we came up with a good medium. So thank you, Tarquin.
Thank you, directors. Just briefly address this. This template actually came from the city of Costa Mesa, which my office represents and have worked on. I know CGAPIA also had a template, but we elected to use the Costa Mesa one.
Okay. Thank you. Director Shea,
Are we ready to make a motion on this?
do you have any questions, comments, any concerns? No. Director Searles.
Yeah, to Tarquin, there are references to a human resources department and a human resources division. What is
Correct.
that?
So we elected to leave that in, and the reason why is the law has required, laws enacted by the legislature has required, really isn't geared towards small districts, candidly. So usually these actions will be taken by Human Resources Department. So the board could either direct us to replace that with the general manager, who's generally in charge of implementing all employee-related requirements, leave it as it is, in which case the general manager would still be implementing it because he is sort of de facto in charge of personnel. In addition, at some point, the board may decide to outsource human resources, or may have its own specific human resource division. There's no right or wrong approach, whichever the board's pleasure is.
I'm glad that you kept it this way, knowing that I have to deal with the FDA in different industries when they have these compliance and these mandates. I'm sorry, people can't hear me. When you have these compliance and these mandates, to use the language within the mandate. And if the mandate says your human resource division, now he might be able to act upon that. So I'm very comfortable with this language, because if I infer correctly, this word and this language is dictated per the compliance that we now have to follow.
In essence, correct.
In essence, correct, okay. Anything else, Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, so that doesn't quite answer the question of, is it defined anywhere? Do we need it defined in this policy?
No, I don't believe we do. I mean,
Okay.
the intent is we're complying with the law, and this enables us to comply and have a robust workplace violence protection program that, as written, complies with the law. Right?
Okay.
And then we're, enacting training and so forth and procedures to, further the policy.
So if the incident involves the general manager, though, where is the subject supposed to report it if this is the way our policy is
So this,
in intent written?
Mr. Mendoza.
Yeah, the policy reads, and I don't know what policy it is, but the president is the next step after the general manager has been. If the issue involves me, yes, then it goes to the president.
Right. That's general background policy,
Okay.
other policy of the district.
I raise it because in section 8, there's incident reporting procedures, and it doesn't lay that out. And it says essentially, you know, if you can't do it, you report it to the Human Resources Division. But I think that can be confusing if we don't, if the Human Resources Division is the manager, why is the sentence beforehand saying you report to a supervisor or manager?
Yeah,
That would be
again,
inconsistent
it's-
to say that you first start with your manager, and if not, then you, the
Right.
alternative might be your manager.
Right, we understand, I understand the issue. That's one of the sort of pitfalls of having a very small agency. You know, an option is to clarify that language, which we could certainly do, to expressly provide in this policy, you know, the alternate methods if the, you know, head of human resources or the general manager is the party being complained against.
I think that would be suggested.
Well, the question for me is chicken and the egg. Is it that we don't have a robust HR policy as a board of what happens?
No, it's,
Since we don't have an H, so is it this particular policy? Or is it the fact that we need to change our HR terminology as an organization?
So I understand the question. So
Good.
here, this is one, you know, all-encompassing policy. There is another board policy, and forgive me, I don't recall the number offhand, but it deals with complaints. And
Right.
Joe was, General Manager Mendoza was referring to it. We could also cross-reference that policy in the workplace violence prevention policy in those situations where the general manager might be involved in the complaint.
So when does this policy have to take effect per mandate?
So it should have taken effect.
So we're already behind.
Well, slightly, but I mean, we are complying. I'm not aware of any penalty for not having, you know.
So would you advise us to approve this, but address any shortfall on overall HR as an organization in a different policy to cross-tie them?
So either is acceptable. You could direct that the general manager and the general counsel make clarifying language in the policy to address this situation. It would be a minor change, and the board has the authority to do that. We could either bring it back, or you could just, you know, approve it now in one read, approve it now with those changes directed. Or we could also come back with another policy. I mean, there's many different options. Does that answer the question?
I guess I'm asking for legal advice to protect our district
Correct.
of should we have a workplace violent, even though there is some concern that our director has.
Right.
Should we at least vote on this, and you advise us to vote for it, and then try in the next couple of meetings to tighten it up a bit? Is that the legal advice you're giving this board?
So there are two options.
Okay,
One, approve it now as it is,
right.
direct it to be brought back to clarify these
Thank you.
issues, right? That's one option. The other option is to direct the general manager and general counsel to make changes now to the policy, give us the general language, and we will, as a ministerial matter, insert that language in there and approve the policy with those, you know, amendments
With those
made.
changes.
Right. So
Okay, I like that.
either is acceptable.
Okay. All right, so Director Searles, do you have a motion?
Well, I'd support the latter as well.
Same here, so
Yes.
please make a motion.
Well, I don't know the exact language of the section we would cross-reference, but I believe that you would be looking at that section to say that, report all threats or acts of workplace violence to your supervisor or manager. If that's not possible, report incidents to the president of the board of the Rossmoor Community Services District.
Correct.
And that would be the extent of that change.
Right. And I will point out that, again, we are a small agency. It is unusual in HR practice to have a elected official be the recipient of a complaint. And I'm not saying it's illegal, I'm just saying it is unusual. I have never seen it before, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I haven't seen it here, obviously, but it is slightly unusual.
But ultimately, if I may, the complaint would end up at your doorstep, right?
The general counsel's doorstep?
Yeah.
Well, I would not be investigating it personally.
I know, but yeah.
Right. I would, certainly the board would seek legal counsel, and we would, direct
Oh,
whatever
right.
investigation needed to take place.
I understand.
And Tarquin, if I understand it correctly, the concern shouldn't be brought to you initially because you are not the employee's counsel.
Correct.
And
I
so there could be
solely-
an
I solely-
issue of
right.
them bringing it directly to you first. It needs to go through, the district has to contact you.
Correct, because I can't be both a counsel and a witness
Yes.
to a complaint, and I cannot give employees legal advice unless it concerns their actual duties, how to do X, Y, Z. I will give advice to the board and to general manager on district matters.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification. So that's the motion.
That was a motion.
That was, the
Okay.
motion was, yeah.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second the motion?
Yeah.
Is this a roll call, or is this?
This is a roll call, this is a policy.
Okay.
This is a roll call vote for Director Shade,
Aye.
Director Searles,
Aye.
President Maynard.
Aye. Okay, Mr. Mendoza, general manager items. What do you have to share?
In reviewing the HR question, I have to add a little levity to it. When staff does come in, we ask them to go see human resources on the third floor. So that's why you haven't had any complaints, okay? So anyway, I'll just give you a brief update on general manager's items. Our canopy project is underway. The architecture design is being done as we speak. Our architect has had some problems with her computer and her program, but she's looking forward to get back up on it, and we hope to get a submittal to the County of Orange by mid-November or shortly after that. Traffic update, next meeting, I believe Carolyn's working on that with Director Searles and Director DeMarco on getting a date for our next meeting, and we have a few residents that have asked to be involved in that, and we will make sure that they're aware of the meeting date and time, as well as the community, but there's a few residents that want to address the board. The memo of understanding with LAGSL, we met in November. We hope to bring a summary of our meeting to the December board, and with some alterations to their scheduling to reduce some of the field practices, as well as ball field games, as well as games, and reduce some of the parking issues around the park. East room at Rush Park will be outfitted with sound absorption. As you remember, we did put the luxury vinyl tile in the east room, and it has created more sound problems. It already had issues that we should have addressed, and I'm getting bids for some sound panels that will totally mitigate the situation and make it more usable. We have put monitors in both those rooms, so for small meetings such as the audit, the budget, whatever, we have ability to put it up on the screen and sit there and look at the screen instead of the hard copy papers. The turf at Rossmoor and Rush Park will be fertilized and weed abated. We're looking at November 19th. We're working with our contractor and getting permits to do that. This proper signage will be put up, and we will be putting it out on social media. And we also, Carolyn has made, I guess, what do you call them, cards? Postcards. Postcards, I'm sorry. Mailers that go out to the adjacent streets around each park so the residents will know, but we will block off each entrance. Once the abatement has been put down, it takes about maybe 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the weather, for it to dry, and then it's deemed safe. So the park will not be shut down for any prolonged period of time. One of the things that that I need to bring up that's not on my list is, as you know, I have decided to resign my position, and I'm looking somewhere at the first of the year, first quarter of the year or thereafter, depending on how our process goes in securing a replacement. I've let the board know that I will be here as long as it takes to make sure you have a general manager that you feel comfortable with. So right now we have put we're out to the, I guess, to a large number of advertisements, and we're securing applications and resumes. The deadline is November 14th, and as of right now we have, what? 15th, November 15th. And as of right now we have 6, but I know there's a potential of 3 or 4 more coming in, and they're well qualified. With that, after the 15th, I will make a summary of the applications. I've been meeting with President Maynard and Vice President DeMarco, who's on our Personnel Committee, and we will in turn look at those, decide on, I guess, prioritize them, get together with the board, set up some interviews, and move forward with the process. And I believe that's the way it's done has been done in the past, and I'm happy with, so far, some of the applicants that have responded. So again, the deadline is November 15th. List of potential candidates to the CSD board will be on approximately November 25th. Interview date sometime in December, and in January, I guess we'll hopefully discuss an employment contract, and hopefully the new general manager will start in February, March, and I'm committed to staying on and making sure that transition is smooth and that the person is ready to take over. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Director Searles.
I just want to thank Joe and staff for the revenue and expenditure report. That was great. Thank you. And Joe, thank you for updating us on your position. So thank you. And as was raised about the traffic, I believe that will be on November 21st, a Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
Any-
If I may add to that, there was some misinterpretation about a cost of $15,000 for recruitment. That was just a informational item to the board that when this first came about, I called a number of other cities, and most of the cities go out for consultants to do the recruitment and process the applicants. And it's very expensive. I didn't realize how expensive it was. So after Trepepe Smith gave us a bid of $15,630, and that I reached out to a couple of other agencies that were comparable or more, I quickly decided that we'll do it in-house and that we would do the
We
project.
would have never approved that.
I know, I realize that, but it took time to know that, and so we're doing the legwork and the answering questions, giving candidates tours when they ask for them, and making sure they're well aware of what the positions is. So it's just the process, yes. Okay.
Director Shea, do you have any comments about General Manager items 8?
Just want to say thank you, Joe, for updating us on all of this and letting us know where you're at as far as your replacement goes. I appreciate you hanging on until there is a suitable replacement. That's very much so appreciated for your service. And I'm wondering if we're planning on having the Sheriff's Department at our next meeting. Do we know?
December.
I believe he did commit to December.
He did, because I had some concerns with the last 5 days. We've had, some break-ins, and we had the Teslas that were found on blocks, and I wanted to go over some information with him, so good to know. I thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, staff, for everything you do. Appreciate it.
So this is board member items, or did we kind of mash them together?
Done.
I was just pointing out what's.
Do you have
general
board
manager-
member items?
Yeah, I have my own, yeah.
Okay. Do you have,
I'm good.
so you, no more board member? Okay, so now we're going to I, you've been done. Agenda I, board member items. Director Searles.
Yeah, first I'd like to thank the audit committee for taking that on. That was a big ask, and so thank you both. Thank you, as always, to the Boy Scout Troop 642 for the presenting of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to say a belated thank you to our veterans and Veterans Day. I was able to attend the Seal Beach ceremony yesterday, and it was quite inspiring, and just thankful for our veterans. I want to, hopefully, staff, we can share whatever CHP is willing to offer us as far as the e-bike education, because that sounds like that's a little more escalated, and maybe the enforcement's coming, so maybe more of our residents be aware of that. I'm excited to see the Winter Festival on the calendar. That's December 14th. We will have another meeting before that, I think, but it'll be really close to the actual festival, so I hope people go ahead and put that on their calendar now. There's a blood drive next week. I'm happy to be finally able to get to that. And lastly, I want to just say that personally, I'm proud to serve all of Rossmoor, not just those who are my friends or vote for me, but all of Rossmoor as I am elected to do. So thank you.
You didn't have anything else? Okay.
No, thank you
All right.
for the troop, what was it? Boy Scouts were amazing. Troop 642 from Seal Beach, out of Seal Beach, and that's it.
Okay. First, I want to talk about Mr. Mendoza's resignation. Unfortunately, I've been through this 4 times in the search committee. So he has started the search. He has given us some resumes. I would say there's 2 people I really want to talk to out of those resumes. I'd say Tony thinks there's 3, but the process is for us to take interview, and then even if we have to have an additional meeting in between, be prepared that I'll probably call a meeting that when we have the 2 to 3 best candidates based on this deadline, we will have an extra meeting where everyone gets to ask questions, because it is a board decision, not a search committee. Our job is to try to get the best candidates, weed out, and there were some weeds there, Joe. But the other thing is, being through this process, it was very helpful when we eventually brought Mr. Ruth in, because Henry Tabuada, the predecessor, stayed on and was available to bring Mr. Ruth up to speed, all the nuances of Rossmoor. In turn, when Mr. Ruth retired and we brought in Mr. Mendoza, Joe had access to Mr. Ruth as well, with all of what he knew, not just about Rossmoor, but he was former CEO of Orange County. He knew a lot of stuff. So luckily, we're very happy that you're going to stay on board for a transition. So whoever we hire, the goal is to find the right person, fit for office, fit for purpose, give him or her everything they need to be successful, to give the community what they deserve. And that is a competent general manager that leans into the public, doesn't stray away from the public, addresses issues on hand, thinks outside of the box, and bring their own skill set. So I do know we have a shorter period of time. I know Mr. Mendoza would like to, even though he's been gracious in saying he would stay here, I still know that, when it's time is done. We respect that, but we are thankful for you.
Thank you.
Regarding this traffic committee, Director Scholes, you're on it. Were you aware that they tracked accidents in these corners of Rossmoor that are without signs? And do we know how to get?
I was surprised that he referenced that, because Public Works has always said it's not a thing to worry about, so.
Well, he's saying that there's already been a
Right.
few this
Right.
year.
No, I was surprised to hear that, too.
So
It's on my notes.
It's in my notes that you're going to have a traffic committee. Mr. Mendoza, as you prepare for that committee, let's see if we get visibility, because the whole part of traffic committee is to set a vision for Rossmoor, not just here and now, but in the future. And if we've got some blind spots that we've had, especially if there's the corner of Smith and Jones, I just made that up, that has had 6 accidents over the last 10 years. That's 6 too many. And I think we need to have some visibility to these blind spot areas where people aren't paying attention. So that was a little eye-catching for me. So let's make sure in the traffic committee, they start trying to identify if there's any spots that we need to petition our supervisor, that we might need some, the data might be there saying we might need some stop signs. And again, he's on our traffic committee for how many years now? 4, 5, 3? And he wasn't even aware that this was a surprise to both of us. So I like that taken care of. So with all of that said, I am looking forward to our Christmas festival. I also want to congratulate you on your reelection, along with Director DeMarco, who's not here. We also will have a second female joining us in December to be sworn in. Is it Mary Ann or Mary?
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Remnant. I do not know her. I will be reaching out to her. But with all that said, next meeting there will be a swearing-in ceremony. It will be a new board, a new composure of a board. Please bring a nice camera. Everyone dressed a little nicer. I would like to have photos individually before and after for a group shot of the new board, maybe around the Rossmoor thing. But I will be out of my jeans. I'll probably actually wear a full suit, never a tie. That's not my thing. But still, next week, let's make sure we get some good photos of the new board that's coming in.
Next month.
So with all that said, general council items. Do you have anything for us, Starkman?
I do not.
Okay, then I adjourn this meeting.